Hey everyone. So lately I've been following the Lori Vallow Chad Daybell case, and I thought it might be helpful to upload a video to kind of break it all down. I'm sure I'm not the only one who had to go over everything a few times because it's so confusing and such a crazy series of events. So this first video is going to more or less be a timeline of events as we know them. Hopefully this will make it just a little easier to digest. Okay, so let's start with Lori and her love life. Currently, she is on marriage number 5. Her first marriage ended in divorce, and the two did not have any children. Her second marriage ended in divorce, with the couple having one child that they named Colby. He is now an adult, and from the sounds of things, he and his mother are not all that close. He's recently released a video on YouTube asking his mother to tell everyone what happened to his half-siblings, so I get the impression that he doesn't exactly have faith that she's innocent of wrongdoing. Next, we have marriage number 3. She marries Joseph Ryan, and go figure, this relationship also ends in divorce. Sometime later, her ex-husband Joseph was reported to have passed away. Honestly, I can't find much on how this guy died, but I've seen it mentioned that he may have had a heart attack and that there's nothing suspicious surrounding his death. Although if I were someone close to him, I'd probably still want to take a closer look into how he passed away, just for peace of mind, you know? Anyhow, while the two were married, Lori gave birth to a daughter that they named Tylee Ryan. She is now 17 years old and is considered missing. I thought it should be added here that the reason Colby and Tylee share the same last name is because Tylee's father legally adopted Colby when Colby was still a minor. I just wanted to make it known that these two children do not share a biological father. From what I've read, though, Colby's biological father is still living, but his whereabouts are unknown to the public. All right, next up. Lori's fourth marriage was to Charles Vallow. While they were together, they adopted a child and named him Joshua, or JJ for short. He is now missing as well. This is where things start to get a little confusing, so just bear with me. Charles is the brother of Kay Woodcock, who is the biological grandmother of JJ Vallow. This means that Charles is biologically JJ's great uncle. From what I've gathered, Lori and Charles adopted the child in hopes to provide him with a better life. It's unclear what happened to JJ's biological mother, but JJ was in custody of his grandparents when they agreed to let Charles and Lori adopt him. So Charles later files for divorce from Lori in February of 2019. On July 11th, he and Lori were still in the middle of their divorce when Charles went to Lori's house to pick up JJ. According to Lori and her brother, Charles and Lori got into a violent argument over the custody of JJ. Tylee heard the argument and came out of her bedroom with a metal baseball bat, which Charles took from her. According to reports, Charles hit Lori's brother, who is Alex Cox, with the baseball bat. Alex was allegedly fearful for his life, and in retaliation, he shot Charles in the chest in the home where he died. At the time of Charles's death, there doesn't seem to be an overwhelming amount of attention from law enforcement paid to these circumstances, so it's not surprising that police just believed this version of events. With that being said, there is police body cam footage where Lori and her brothers seem to contradict each other. So after watching this body cam footage myself, it's just pretty eerie seeing how calm Lori is after learning that her soon-to-be ex-husband and father of her children has just been shot dead in her home. I mean, I try not to judge people on their reactions, especially in a time of tragedy or grief, but knowing what we do about Lori, it sets off some alarm bells. Okay, anyhow, as of now, the death was ruled as self-defense, but it does remain under investigation. Immediately after the shooting, Lori left the scene with her 2 children, JJ and Tylee. It's not sure where Lori took the kids, but it's been reported that only Tylee was with Lori when she returned to talk to the police. Since the time of Charles's death, there's been suspicious details that have surfaced. Remember that Charles was killed on July 11th. In October, 3 months after he passed away, his Jeep was used in a drive-by shooting targeting Brandon Boudreaux, who is the ex-husband of Melanie Boudreaux. Melanie is the niece of Lori. Okay, so hang in there with me, guys. This story is crazy, I know. So, about 6 months after the shooting on December 11th, Alex Cox, who we all remember is the brother of Lori and the man that killed Charles, he was found unresponsive in his Gilbert, Arizona home. He was later pronounced dead as the result of unknown cases or unknown causes. A public information officer for Gilbert Police in that area said that they are waiting for autopsy results to determine if there are more details to be considered in his untimely death. Right now, they say it's just too early to say if foul play was involved. The officer expects the autopsy to take another, I think, 2.5 months to fully be processed. So I'm eagerly awaiting on that. Next, we have Marriage 5 with Chad Daybell. His wife Tammy dies of natural causes unexpectedly in her sleep on October 19th, 2019. Tammy's death was initially thought to be natural, but a subsequent investigation determined that her death was suspicious enough to request her remains to be exhumed in late December. A sheriff of the Fremont County Sheriff's Department reported that authorities are looking into whether or not she was poisoned. Chad had 5 children with his wife Tammy, and I can find nothing about where those kids are today. I hope that's a good thing. To be honest, I don't know if these children are now adults or if they're still minors, but it seems to be that they are not with Chad and not considered missing. Hopefully that means that they're alive and well wherever they are. Okay, so 2 weeks after Tammy's death, Chad and Lori get married. Shortly after the death of Tammy, witnesses came forward saying that Lori and Chad were telling friends that Lori Vallow's daughter had died a year earlier and that Lori had no minor children. That detail sets off so many alarm bells. What mother in her right mind lies about her own child being dead? Like, I can't even comprehend that she would say that without having bad intentions. Creepy just doesn't even begin to touch it. Okay, so that's the timeline of Lori's love life. Next, we'll get into the children and their whereabouts. So, Lori moved her children, JJ and Tylee, to Rexburg, Idaho in late August or early September 2019 after Charles's death. I mean, this isn't surprising considering that he'd just been killed in the previous home, so we'll set that aside. She enrolls JJ into a local school on September 3rd. It does not look like she attempted to enroll Tylee in any schooling, although, if I'm not mistaken, at 17, Tylee should have still been in high school. I don't think she had graduated yet, but it is what it is. So on September 24th, Lori suddenly unenrolls JJ from school, claiming that she was going to homeschool him instead. September 23rd, 2019 is the last known sighting of JJ alive when he was in class. The last known sighting of Tylee was also in September as well, but the exact date is unknown. On October 25th, some friends of Tylee got a text from her number saying that she missed them. This isn't considered proof that Tylee was alive at that time because she only sent that one text message and didn't reply to any of the responding texts afterwards. It should also be mentioned that some articles quote her friends as saying that the message was strange because it wasn't written like the majority of her texts. To me, that's another major red flag to add to the sea of them already out there. So JJ's biological grandparents, Kay and Larry Woodcock, asked the police to do a wellness check on JJ in November, who's said to have special needs. They were very close with JJ and used to video chat with him pretty often. The last time that they were able to video chat with him was in August, and they said it seemed like someone else was sort of holding the video device and that the call was very short and it bothered them. So police performed the wellness check November 26th. While speaking to Lori, they were told that JJ was sent to live with a friend in Arizona. The police, of course, followed up on that and found that JJ was never sent to that home. When deputies returned to Lori's home the next day, they found that Lori and Chad abruptly left with no forwarding address. One thing I think is worth mentioning here, remember that Lori and Chad married 2 weeks after his previous wife had died? Okay, well, on October 9th, days after Brandon Boudreaux, I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, On October 9th, days after Brandon was shot at from deceased Charles's Jeep, Tammy was shot at with a paintball gun by a man wearing a mask. I just thought that was a little odd. I mean, 10 days later, she was dead. Okay, so in November, possibly early December of 2019, Lori and her husband Chad were found living in Princeville, Hawaii. A court order deadline was issued, and Lori had until January 30th, 2020 to produce her children or evidence of their well-being. She did not meet this deadline and now faces contempt of court for failing to do so. If I understand that situation correctly, I think the penalty for failing to do so is a fine in the amount of $5,000 or something like that. I'm not sure of the exact penalty, but I'm fairly sure that the consequence is pretty trivial. It's just so frustrating to me that as of right now, this woman is out walking free and clear. Okay, so that's the timeline. There's a lot more that I want to go further into, and I will on another video, like the details of Lori and Chad's marriage and their cult activity, as well as possible motives. Of course, if anyone has any information as to the whereabouts of these children, please contact the authorities. Thanks so much for watching, guys.